our world of drugs is some kind of meritocracy and the drugs that people use are the best drugs, but that is very much not the case.
What do you mean? Like
alcohol would be
so they're like, that's the best because it's available, but it's only because we have it.
It's just a quirk that it happens to be this metabolic byproduct of the fermentation of glucose and yeast. And for so many generations, humanity has observed this effect where rotting fruit or honey or whatever produces an intoxicating effect, and this became integrated into almost every human culture. And so we think, all right, alcohol, that's the drug, but it's not. I mean, it's just it happens to be the case that yeast does this thing that produces this extraordinarily toxic chemical that is really not very good at all, but due to historical factors and cultural factors, it becomes integrated into our society. And that's the case for most drugs. It's not as if most of the drugs that we use are the best thing. They just happen to exist often because there's some kind of natural source that's readily available. Like cocaine wouldn't be used at all if it weren't the case that in South America, there's a culture of consuming coca leaves and it grows abundantly in these impoverished regions, and there's a lot of money to be made extracting it and refining it and exporting it to wealthier countries. But if it weren't being produced by plants, if plants weren't doing all of the synthetic heavy lifting, no one would be doing cocaine.
Right. Or just like boomers are big in places where they grow.
Exactly. But that's the other weird thing is like, you really like mushrooms, right? You started a mushroom holiday.
Shroomfest.
Yeah.
July 20th to 22nd this year.
And I think most people think that mushrooms are the greatest psychedelic. They're the most commonly used psychedelic. And the reality is that it just happens to be the most available psychedelic. But in the 1960s, nobody was using mushrooms because, weirdly, people didn't know that they grew in the United States, and nobody knew how to cultivate them outside of a lab. It wasn't until Terence McKenna and Dennis McKenna introduced these techniques for home cultivation that the world of mushrooms that currently exists emerged. It went from being this ultra obscure thing to the most common psychedelic.
Yeah. Whoever invented closets was also pretty big. without John Closet,